Welcome to the Bearing Life podcast, a place for authentic stories and conversations. Together, we can find meaning in any season. I'm Julie Shannon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Close your eyes and count to 10. Take this moment to breathe again.
And today I am so thrilled to have my friend Joe Battaglia. He's on the show to talk about culture and community and how we can positively engage with others in our lives. Joe is a broadcaster, author, and president of Renaissance Communications. For 16 years, he's been involved in the promotion of hit movies such as War Room, God's Not Dead, The Polar Express, and I Can Only Imagine, just to name a few. Joe, thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, Julie, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad to have you here. And I'd like to do, you were involved in so many creative endeavors, and it's just, your body of work is amazing. And today I've been so intrigued by one of your books, and I would love to start out with just give the listeners just a brief background of your life and career and your areas of influence and how you got into the writing arena as an author. What
Sure.
led to your interest in that?
Well, it seems like I've been interested in writing my whole life, even as a child. I still have book reports and things I did when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, stashed away. And
Love that.
now and then I'll look back and say, "Oh, that's pretty good for a 5th grader or a 6th grader." And so anyway, I took all that and began stringing for newspapers in my area in North Jersey when I was in high school, and was sports editor of our school paper.
Wow.
And then went to college, to Boston University, where I studied journalism, got my degree in journalism, and then came back home to North Jersey and started the first Christian magazine for New York.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was something that, I had no money and not many people that I knew at the time, but I knew it was something that God had put into my heart, and I just did it. And so, it's something that's been with me my whole life. I think when I look back, I've always been able to synthesize information and make
That's
it
a great word. Great word. Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, the journalist or the communicator interprets the social sphere. So everything around us is something that needs to be interpreted, right?
Right.
What goes on, how to understand what it's all about. How do I make it common? I mean, I did a whole word study on communication and journalism from the Greek. I learned Greek to go back into the New Testament and find out what real meanings to words and all that was about. When I would read things I didn't understand, I'd just go back to the Greek and
Wow.
and much more definition. And so I did a working study to find my biblical definition of my profession, communication. And I found out that two of the most used words in the New Testament were koinonia and logos. And so most believers who've been around a while have heard those terms. I mean, koinonia is what everybody called their coffee houses years ago. And of course, Jesus was referred to as the logos.
And tell me, okay, so for our listeners, maybe who don't know that or who aren't people of Christian faith, so just give us a little definition of koinonia and logos.
Well, koinonia is simply the fellowship. It is establishing some commonality with someone or something. So that's really what it is. It's that opportunity to engage and be with people and build community and all that. And logos is a Greek word that means the word. Now, Jesus was referred to as the Logos. So simply everything in the world, everything in science, everything that works and happens has a Logos to it. It is by definition something that enables each individual thing to be what it does and be what it is.
I love that. That's
And
a great explanation. Thank you for clarifying that and synthesizing that well for us.
Okay.
I love it. I love that you did that, and you learned early on that that was a skill and a gift of yours.
Yeah, and so what I deduced from all this, particularly from those two particular words, was that I developed a working biblical definition of my profession, so that I could have a plumb line by which to assess the efficacy of my work. And so it was something that showed me that when I do communication, my objective is to build community, is to establish a commonality,
Love
which
that.
meant that I am supposed to interpret what is going on out there in such a way so that I make it common so that people can understand it, right? And
Yes.
then the Logos part of it is to explain it in such a way so that people understand the essence of what I'm talking about,
Okay.
and that gives it more meaning. And so it was something that I really broke down into, well, I need to help people understand the world around them, make it common so that they can interpret it in their own life and in their own way, and enable them to see what I'm talking about. So if I do not do that, then I don't really have communication. I'm not building community. I'm simply doing a monologue. And unfortunately,
that's so great. Wait, that's so great though, because how many people do that?
well, I think
I haven't. I love that you took that time. I'm so excited about it. That you took that time and you developed something and you go, this is who I am. This is how I'm supposed to be. This is who God created me to be. These are my gifts and talents. And here's a very simple, not meaningless simple, but a very simple, easy to understand definition of, I want to build community. I want to communicate clearly, and I want to make this common so that other people who I'm communicating with understand what I'm saying.
right. And it's not about what I think about something.
Right.
My attempt is to strive and say to people, well, this is what it is. This is what it says. It's not dependent on me to have definition. It is simply me to help interpret it so that I clearly and accurately say this is what it is, which of course is not what we find in our current methods of communication and journalism today, unfortunately, when ideology runs rampant, so that I bring in to a conversation an interpretation of what I believe. So I'm bringing into that environment myself and what my premises are in life. And that's not correct. I need to just let you see what it is. It's like Cronkite told us that all I do is hold up a mirror. You should not see me when you look into a mirror.
Boy, hasn't journalism changed since he was on the air?
Well, unfortunately, yes. And so that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's the start of all that. And, then I got into the broadcasting aspect of it, and that led to the music part and the film part and everything I have today.
And like I said, you have an amazing body of work. So go Google Joe or go to his website, joebattaglia.com, and I'll have the links in the show notes, and really look and see what Joe's all about, because he's amazing. So a few years ago, I think it was it 2018?
Mm-hmm.
He published Unfriended, and the full title is Unfriended: Finding True Community in a Disconnected Culture. I love the title for many reasons. And one of them, I love the unfriended part of the title, because we've become a culture, I think, that's so quick to go, you know what, I don't like what you said, so I'm done with you. But I also love the disconnected, the dichotomy, I think, of that. We think we live in a connected culture, but the more connected we are, the more disconnected we become.
Well, I think we have a wrong definition of connection.
Yes. And that's what I wanted to walk into with that, is for you to go talk about that. Like, because especially the last few years, we've had a lot more social isolation, even since your book came out. I mean, look at how the world turned upside down. And so even before a worldwide pandemic, you wrote the book, we were having this issue. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Like, what led you to write this particular book? And then what impact has this disconnection, or maybe go into maybe a definition of what does it look like to be connected in our culture?
Yeah.
Small topic.
Small topic. Large discussion.
I know, right? Oh, trust me. I read your book and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I turn this into a, 25-minute conversation? So
well, I think it's important that people realize that we have substituted connection for communication in place of it. So that, to me, the essence of what community is about is just that. It's a communion. I'll take all these Latin words that are, transliterations of the word, and it all boils down to I no longer connect with you in a sense where I sense who you are. I spend time with you. I hear your heart. I sense what your aspirations are. And when I do that, you become much more real to me and more like me. But when I disconnect myself from you by not interacting and not having communion and all that, I no longer hear your heartbeat. I no longer sense your passion for life. All you are is some digital component at the end of a cursor, and I can easily dismiss you if I don't like what I'm hearing, or if I don't understand what you're saying. Excuse me. The reality of where we've come in our culture is that we have misunderstood and decided that we think engaging in social media or Facebook is actual communication, when in fact it is not. It is miscommunication. It's the wrong kind of what I'm supposed to be like. And so, to me, I wrote the book because I write about things that annoy me. And
I love it.
And I just began sensing, some years ago, that we were substituting time spent with people for time away from people, thinking that we can spend it online rather than in person. And that's just a falsehood. That cannot be. It cannot be, because that's not the way we're wired, and that's not the way the universe works. And I model that after what community looked like in the heavenlies. And so I always look at scripture and who Jesus was, and try to develop principles from scripture that can be foundational to my own life. And so when I looked for the definition of community in that paper I wrote, and in what I've done over the years, I always I'm a first principles kind of guy.
Okay.
So I look for where things originated, what are their foundations, what is the basis for their existence.
Yeah.
And then, play it out. And so the question that came to me is what constitutes community? Where did it originate? What are the first principles behind that? And it just dawned on me, and you can call it inspiration or whatever you want to call it, that the first essence of community was in the heavenlies between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That was the true community that initiated the universe. So when the when creators create something, it is their spirit that they put into the essence of that creation. And I always say that the spirit that I communicate is the same spirit which is received at the other end by the person who consumes it, which is why art and community and all these elements of what we create is so strong and vital.
Yes.
And it's because there's a spirit behind the creation of it.
And it moves our spirits.
Exactly.
A good piece of music, or you're right, like art or words.
Or it can take you away from something beautiful.
Right.
Something ugly.
Yeah.
Hate and divisiveness and so much. And so it became obvious that when the creation happened, a God infused within the creation the essence of what community was. So it's not a man-made concept. It is a universal concept woven into the very fabric of what was created at the outset by God himself.
I love that.
So
we've lost track of that too, haven't we?
Well, of course, we've lost track of just about everything.
One of my speaking of like stirring your spirit, I want to share one of the quotes from your book. Like it's making me teary-eyed right now because when I read it, I just had to stop. It just was breathtaking. You said social media has blurred the lines of decency, civility, and respect we should, my emphasis, we should have for one another. We've elevated ugliness to an art form. And oh my word, that just hit me so hard. I was like, we have elevated ugliness. And that's just such a sad state to me. When I think about what you just said about the universality of communion and communication, and like, where did our curiosity go? When did we put our pride before really wanting to know another person and say, oh, that's what you think about this? Tell me more about that, instead of, that is not what I believe and you're awful, I'm going to write you off and, click or whatever. How do you see when you talk about that? And I appreciate so much what you have done in your own life and in your research to say, here's what this means, and here's where the origin of it all is. So, like, really basically, how do we just combat that? What's a good step for us to just say, I don't want ugliness to be an art form in my life? Like, yeah. What is something you think that we could just real simple, whoever we are, whatever we believe, that we could just do today to help with?
Okay. I think whenever you try to combat something that you find displeasing in life and you come to grips with it, the first thing, of course, is that you've got to realize that it is ugly.
Okay. Yep.
Right? And so, and the only way you know that it's ugly is because you know what beauty is. Right. And so it's almost that juxtaposition of those two things. Opposites, right? Yep. So you must have an understanding that there is an opposite.
And there is. In case anybody wonders, there is.
And so introducing yourself into those environments that show you what beauty is, that will help you understand the ugliness. And most people who haven't drunk the Kool-Aid understand what is beautiful and what is not. Right? And so trying to get back to the garden, if we will, and in this sense, because we have, we play in the sandbox of ugly all day. You cannot expect to find beauty in that. And the sandbox, unfortunately, is just a lot of online stuff. Now, to be clear, this is not a screed against social media or the use of the internet or anything like that at all.
Okay.
It is simply pointing to the dangers of how we play on the internet for the same way and the same reason we explain to our children why you don't put your hand on a hot stove. There's nothing wrong with the stove. It performs a very valuable function.
Wow, that's a great analogy.
And so we have to understand not just the things that we engage that are useful and good for humanity and ourselves, but we also have to understand when they are not. And we have taken, these little things,
Yes.
right, and have elevated them to God status in our lives, where we genuflect to it every time something rings or an email comes up or somebody FaceTimes me or Facebook shows me another wonderful sanitized version of what my friend is doing somewhere. And I do likewise. And so we have to understand the pitfalls of what this entails, the whole social media aspect, without condemning it to the rubble and pile and burning books again. And so I think that's a good start. I think we have to get back to being with people rather than just seeing people, or emailing them or not sensing much about what's going on in their lives, with a certain amount of characters. So those are the things.
I'm going to interject here because you just took us somewhere I wanted to go next. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad we're naturally segging into.
Yeah, because I love what you said about it takes more effort to personally intersect with someone face to face than just scrolling and dropping unfiltered comments and responses. And whether we're nice when we scroll or not, it doesn't matter. I think that we can be nice or we can not be nice when we scroll and do comments. But really, I love that applies to anything. It takes more effort to be face to face. I think we've lost the art. A lot of us have. A lot of the just overall culture of being face to face with someone. I think people find it scary and intimidating. And yet, as you said earlier, that's where we connect. That's where I see who you are. That's where I see your spirit. That's where I can engage in questions. And it's harder to just drop a negative comment or go, I'm just going to unfriend you. I mean, who says that to somebody's face?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're less prone to act out when you're looking at somebody face to face.
Yep. And you're right.
But you're more prone to get to know who they are when you're face to face. And when you work alongside someone and you sweat alongside them for a common goal, or feel their passion, or sense what they're about, or hear about their past. I mean, the human family is so diverse and yet so the same.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. And I think I wonder sometimes, I know I do this. I can be bad at this. Coming along somebody who doesn't look like me, I think sometimes a friend of mine put it this way a long time ago, we've, especially during a pandemic, we got so used to siloing. We siloed with our beliefs and our people and our news and our feed. And instead of stepping outside of that, being face to face and just kind of like, I don't have to agree with everything the person I sit down at a table with and have coffee. I don't have to understand it all, but I want to be curious. I mean, that is a valuable human being created in the image of God. It's like, I want to know about you. Like, how'd you get here?
Well, we certainly find out more about each other when we don't interact with the people that think like me, look like me, act like me.
Right.
I mean, that's terribly boring. We only begin to know more about ourselves when we interact with people unlike us. That's the genius of our faith. It's also the genius of our nation, the e pluribus unum, the one from the many. I think we understood as a culture that it takes differences to create oneness.
Hold on.
Which is
Okay,
different.
say that again. That's so good. I just want to stop on it.
It takes differences to understand oneness. Isn't that what marriage is about?
Amen.
Yes. It's the only place in the universe where singular is plural.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
One and one equals one.
I like that.
We have, the opportunity to understand that there's more than just me in the equation. I may think it's me only, but it's not. And so we have become so disaffected in how we respond to people because we just have not trained ourselves to respond to people.
I like that. Okay. We're going to stop on that for a second. I love that. We haven't trained ourselves to respond to people.
Well, okay, yeah. Because
so give us a tip on that. I understand. I think I know what you mean with that, but help the listeners, help me understand. So how do we train ourselves to respond to people? What does that look like?
It's simple.
Okay.
You just hang out. You be.
Hang out and okay, this is greatness. You're just going everywhere I want to go. But okay, we hang out and we be and we give the freedom. Is that like, I'm going to give the freedom to the person I'm hanging out with to be who they are and respect?
Well, just think of it. You grow up, at least years ago, and you be with people and you learn what people are like and you learn how to respect people. You just don't yell at them. You just don't throw things at them.
Yeah.
Your parents probably disciplined you if you did something really stupid like that as a kid. And then as a child, you learn civility and you learn how to respect people and you value other people's opinions. Why? Because you have to in order to live in society. So,
oh my gosh. And that's what's happened. We have been told we don't have to, I think.
Yeah, well, of course.
The whole you do you was taken, I think, so far beyond, be unique, wonderful, creative, whoever you are, but that doesn't mean you get to dismiss all the other people in the world.
Well, you can't because right? you don't become you without other people. So what we have is a dwarfism of personality and human understanding because we have not given ourselves the permission to be with people and enjoy the differences of opinion so that we can learn, we can grow. People who stay to themselves and only in their world, siloed, and with people that believe just like them, they must be the loneliest people anywhere.
I think that's why we have such a crisis of loneliness and mental health issues, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely agree that mental health is a process of not intersecting with people through life. We've lost that component because we just interact on text or emails or Facebook, and we think that's communication and community. But we're putting the ladder up against the wrong house.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and that you were talking about it earlier, the, what'd you say, the sanitized version of myself? Yeah. So often when we are focused on, I have to make every post or every picture or every event look picture perfect. Well, that's not bad, but if what you're trying to do is communicate who you are and be really authentic, you got to put the messy stuff out there too, because then the people who are looking at it can go, oh, hey, I'm not alone in all my messy stuff. Look at that person.
Sure.
They have stuff going on too.
And we have to come into that thing in our mind that says, I'm glad I'm broken. I'm glad I'm not perfect, because then I can truly be free. I don't need to create a false image or an imperfect image. People know me for who I am, and it's a lot easier to live that way.
So true. Talk about taking some anxiety and over the top, out of perspective of who we should be out of ourselves. That alone, that permission to go, hey, I'm broken, you're broken, we all are.
Well, there's nobody there to deter us from our perfection. If there's nobody there to rub against us, then we have a tendency to think that we're pretty good. And if anybody says anything negative about me, who is pretty good, then then I don't like them. And so therefore I can say bad things about them only because I have this false image of myself as being pretty good. And
you're so now you're stepping into a little accountability area.
Well, yeah, I mean,
right.
We are no longer accountable because there is nobody to whom we should be.
And I think I talk a lot about accountability because I think it's been so helpful in my life. And I think it's so healthy. And the way you just put it makes so much sense. And I wonder sometimes if people that haven't experienced like really trusting, loving accountability with people, if they just think, oh, I don't need somebody telling me what to do. And it's not that at all. It's like to me, it's like a deeper layer and level of genuine community with close people in my world who I deeply trust because I know when they call me on something in a loving, kind way, they're not going to write me off. They're going to say, hey, I love you. Here's something I've noticed. Or if I say, what do you think of this? Right? What's your take on that kind of authenticity and community, and how important do you think that is when we're looking at, hey, I want to know people, and there certainly, I want to interject this before somebody jumps to a conclusion. Maybe we don't do that with everybody, right? There are people that they haven't earned that spot in my life because I don't know them and I don't know if I can trust them. And we don't need to walk around just venting stuff all the time.
Well, the reality is you won't get to know them in order to become a friend.
Yep.
Because you're not investing time. You're only investing time in the things that you like. And if you keep your investments in only the things that you like, and some of those investments begin to be depleted, you have less and less input into your life, and you find less and less people in your life that you could potentially like. Okay. And so we have allowed ourselves to shrink, if you will, in our understanding of each other. We often, talk about the Good Samaritan and how he took care of the person he intersected with, right?
Right.
There's a principle right before that I think is even more important, that we have to be on the road already to be able to intersect. So if I'm not on the road, if I'm just focused on this, and I'm not on the road anywhere, I will never be able to be a good Samaritan. So it is the intersection that created the opportunity. Opportunity does not come without intersection. So we have tried to find one thing, opportunity, without the thing that is necessary to get us to that opportunity, which is why we no longer have opportunity.
That's greatness. Well, and I think too, people think, well, I help out. I hear things about people online. And I think there's a bit of that goes on. Sure. You'll post about somebody who, like a GoFundMe account or something like that, or pray for this person. And this is my cousin's best friend's aunt's next door neighbor, right? Yeah.
Well, that goes back to what I said about the hot stove.
Yeah, but that's very distant. I think that's maybe a nice introductory point for intersecting with other people. Yeah. But I think you're so right that we have to be on the road. I well, I won't go down that rabbit hole with you. We'll talk about it another day. But I just thought something just came to mind about my own life I've had friends who've challenged me about, well, what are you doing about blank? And I'm like, well, nothing right now. And the response is, well, you have to get out there. And I go, yeah, well, right now I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
So now you've helped convict me on something that has nothing to do with this conversation. And I'm like, ooh, love it when that happens, but I also hate it because it's uncomfortable and we have to push ourselves and get out of our comfort zones.
Yeah. Let me also mention the need for interdependence, which we have lost. And I use the story.
Define that for us so that everybody knows.
Sure. Well, simple. It's the story I use in the book about the redwood trees, where you would think that the trees that grow to almost 300 feet tall have really deep roots. Otherwise, they would just topple over.
Right.
The fact is, their roots are quite shallow. But the unique thing about them is that those roots extend hundreds of yards out from them and entwine themselves with all the other roots of all the other trees. And they only stay up because they are part of the root system that sustains them.
That's
so a single tree without, yeah. So I think that's the best picture I know of that understands, that helps me understand the need for interdependence. And it's not dependence and it's not independence. I think the biblical model is interdependence. I think that's one of the principles of the universe that God put into it, where we need each other. I cannot be, as John Donne said, no man is an island.
right.
We cannot be alone and sustain ourselves. The human personality was not constructed to just be alone. And we know what happens when you are alone. You get lonely.
Well, and what I find too is the more if I am in a place of like things are hard, I'm overwhelmed, and I've recently been there. I will be honest. I had a week where I just felt like, oh my gosh, nothing's going right. I feel so overwhelmed by everything I have to get done. You know, all these things are happening. People, departing this earth. All kinds of things happened in 1 week, and it felt pretty dark. And I started to withdraw from people I knew, and I started like staying home more. And not that you have to go out and do things all the time, but I did it in an unhealthy way. And then I was talking to a friend one night, and I said, wow, I really am in a bad place right now. I just feel like I feel lonelier than I felt in a very, very long time. And in that conversation, as I shared it, then I felt like, now that you put it that way about the redwoods, I had one of my trees with my interdepending roots say, well, here's what I'm seeing and hearing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did I let myself do this? I know better. Being sad or being alone, doing more of that is not helpful. I mean, there's a time and place where we just want to sit with ourselves. And, there's a difference between extroverts, introverts, and all that. But basically, you're so right. We can't sink into it because we'll just sink further.
Well, yes. And the more we stay in that land of no communion, no intersection, no interdependence, then the more we're going to be shrinking individuals in our own lives. The thoughts we have, the integrity we carry with us, easier to dismiss others when you have nothing to fear from them, nothing to receive from them as feedback.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to come up with a term on like impulse buys.
Yeah.
We are much more prone to dismiss things as an impulse buy.
Mhm.
when we have nothing else to fear from them, live with them, do with them. So we become more impulsive. We allow ourselves to just live alone in the middle of a lot of people. We can do that. And we all know that it can happen. So the idea of trying to build community back is an important thing. And I think trying to help people understand that there are ways in which to do that, that we have to restore and regain our humanness. And that comes by being with people and not substituting a heart and a mind and love and a nice set of eyes looking back at you for something false in a false narrative and so forth. So hopefully, this isn't something that's going to automatically turn around our country, because we are a culture in danger of becoming more and more disenfranchised, disenchanted. We certainly are with our political system, unfortunately, with our news media, and that then is going to extend to each other.
Okay, so you just summarized our whole conversation so beautifully, and then brought the politics in. And I'm not trying to open up that can of worms, but you are right, because I think all of it feeds all of it, right? So the more disconnected we are, then politically it's going to be affected. I mean, religious beliefs, all the things of our society and culture. So as we wrap up, what would be what's the one thing that you think in your head, hey, everybody needs to do this today to start that process of doing something small in our own right to right the ship, so to speak?
Yeah, boy,
get us back on course. What's the answer, Joe?
That's the tall answer to that, Julie.
And then when you give me the answer, why don't you run for president?
Well,
we're not getting political on the podcast. I'm just making funny.
Well, we could do that on another one.
Yes. Okay, good.
I can do that as easily, unfortunately, with what's going on. I think what everybody can do right now is the most simple thing to do is instead of texting somebody today, call them. That's a big deal in our world right now. Well, I know, but
I love that that's a call to action from you. Call them, hear their voice. I love that.
Yeah. Ask them what's going on in their life. Are they, and they may hear something that they would never see on Facebook. Well, I got to, my child doesn't love me anymore. Or I just got into a fight with my husband, or I just got fired. Well, most people don't put that on Facebook,
right?
Or
right.
TikTok or Instagram and show, all you see is nice pictures and whatnot. But that's something that's so vitally important for you to talk about with your friend or your relative or something. So you can certainly do that. You can decide that when you see all these hateful things online, don't participate. Stop and pray for the people, right?
Yes, love that.
For those that are not like you and that you don't like, do that. Reread the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, that's good. Yep. Matthew 5, 6, and 7, I think.
Yep. Yeah. So that whole section of Matthew that covers all that, I think is some of the greatest literature in the world.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I wanted to add in too, combine it all.
Yeah.
I love that. Do your reading, reach out and call someone. And when you do, what I think happens that I still am surprised by sometimes, if I will call somebody I care about, check on them, and then say, hey, I have this going on. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go, oh my gosh, yeah, I've got this. And then you've got that shared, oh my gosh, you've got something too. I have something. And we have to be willing to make the phone call and show up and listen and be willing to be open back. Because it's a two-way street, don't you think?
Sure. Well,
Okay.
all streets are two-way.
Well, yes.
Except the dead end.
Or a one-way. We can get in trouble on a one-way street, but yes, you're right. But I think we forget that. I think
only if you drive.
I think we forget interpersonal communication is a two-way street. And I think a lot of people get very nervous now. What are they going to say? What do I respond with? And I keep telling people, you just need to show up and be present. You don't have to have the right answer. You can't fix it, whatever the problem. You cannot fix it. You might be able to be a listening ear and maybe say, oh, hey, I know so-and-so. You could probably call them for a job. Let me connect y'all, or whatever that is. But I love that advice. I love it. Make a phone call. Do a little reading.
That's about as simple as it gets.
Love that.
And then
and go take a walk. I love your nature advice in the book.
Oh yeah. Go
that
take
is
a walk.
the science of being out in nature and how much it can help us, I think too, right? Because then you're investing in yourself and it's something you can do by yourself and it's not dependent on anyone else.
And nature was created from the hand of God.
Mm-hmm.
So the spirit in nature is peaceful. Rather than going into an environment where there are going to the mall and thinking that, you're going to find peace there. And so, go plant some vegetables or a garden and go sit in the dirt with the hot sun upon you. And a lot of people need to take walks and get out into nature and live in nature, and they're probably much more peaceful. The opportunity to be in God's creation carries with it a much broader sense of accomplishment, because it's not about your accomplishment. You can look around and see what has been accomplished in the world from God's hand, and then that puts you into the right perspective with who God is. So it's a lesson in humility.
Yes.
Being out there, and all of us need a lesson in humility to keep us straight in one sense, right?
Yeah.
So that achieves that purpose. A lot of people always come up to me and will ask me, well, what you're saying is good, and but I'm looking for God's will in my life, because then I'll know what I'm supposed to be doing. I said, well, I think that's a misunderstanding. Because God's will isn't anything you do; it's who you are.
I did that for years. I would go ask people who were further ahead in some way from me, and I would say, how did you know? How did you know? And it took me a long time, Joe, and beating my head against a lot of brick walls to go, oh.
Yeah. And
about my relationship with him, it's not about what I'm doing. And then I pay attention because, yes, he does intersect our lives with people and opens doors, but it's more of a who am I and how am I living for him?
Yes.
Am I loving others? Wait, I forgot to bring up. Oh my gosh. Okay, real quick, because I know you probably have to go. Your dog, Mocha.
Oh, Mocha, yes.
Okay. Sweetest story. Okay, again, and I'm going to try not to cry because I lost a dog last year. And I love how you talk about, even if everybody was in disagreement, not fighting, but just in disagreement about something, and your dog didn't care. Your dog was like, I love all of you. I just want to be here with you. I'm summing it up. It's a great story, so y'all go read it. But I love that. I think everything that you have told us today is worthy of putting in this like bowl that we keep and go, here's how we can do this. Here's how we can effectively build community, be humble, go take a walk, call someone and be in the presence of other people and just love them.
Yeah. Well, that's really not a hard thing to do, but it's become hard.
Yes.
You have not practiced it for so long for many people.
I like that.
Because there is no substitution for that.
Mm-mm.
Just isn't. It's the way we're wired. And so, yeah, I hope people, anybody that hears this, who feels that they're not worthy or feels that they can't face life anymore, the only way to truly face it, if you feel alone, is to get into the world with people and do something apart from any benefit to yourself.
Absolutely. And go serve somewhere too. Go serve someone who needs help.
Of course, that always will take you out of your funk.
Yes.
And help you understand where you are. We just have a really lousy understanding of ourselves.
Well, I think today you have helped us gain a better, much, much, much better understanding of ourselves and who we can be and who we need to be and who we should be and who we were created to be. So I just want to say thank you so much. And everyone, go check out what Joe has written. Unfriended especially is really a great lesson in how to be a loving, humble, sacrificial, authentic person who can come alongside other people and be interdependent with them. And we can all get out there and build community. And I just want to say thank you so much, Joe, for being with us. I appreciate you and your heart and all the things that you're trying to get out there and share with us and help us learn. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Julie. And to everyone who listens to this, thank you for the privilege of your attention.
Thank you so much for listening to The Bearing Life. Thank you so much for listening to the Bearing Life podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Julie Shannon Official, where I post daily-ish on life, joy, and faith. I hope this episode helps you know you are not alone. You're created for this place and time. Let's take a breath. And I'm going to say, take a rest and be still, and then take that next defining step.
Close your eyes and count to 10. Take this moment.